So, for Soul's Talk, tonight's question is fame worth others dying? So we always talk about fame, we always talk about individuals wanting to receive certain things. Notoriety is a big one. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody feels like they the next one. Everybody feels like they him. But you're going to hear a little bit of Fauci's diary of what actually promoted him or motivated him to continue to move forward with the lie. He's going to also disclose some other things of how he felt when he walked in rooms. So listen to this.
See us on your cell phone. We do have new apps, so you want to delete your old app and download the new one. So, Victor, I wanted to look at it since you and Jack talked a little bit about Fauci. I know that there's been a lot of news out about the origins of the virus, and it was clear very early on that at least there was a debate whether it was produced in a lab or not, and that Fauci stifled the debate, saying that it was produced in the lab. That at least these diaries show that, and I know that the presses have been on that. He's also went after people like Scott Atlas and Jay Bhattacharya, which you and Scott talked about extensively. I was more curious and interested in this personal fame and his love of the celebrities and the general narcissism, because I think people are going to be stunned by what he had to say. So I'm going to read, and humor me a little bit here because it's a little bit long. He says in his diary, "The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. It is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable people in the world. Countless profiles on me in multiple media. I cannot even read all the things that are written about me since I'm so busy. Seriously, POTUS seems to be enamored of me even though I'm taking the spotlight away from him. We are developing a very unique and interesting relationship. The entire Secret Service Corps is coming over to me and chatting. They let me into the first gate without even checking ID. Everyone is worried about my health and welfare, probably because it's all over the place that I am almost 80 years old." And I'm reading that like a little kid because that 80-year-old sounds like a little kid here, Victor. So
he's an academic of sorts. I mean, he left medical school and he wasn't really a practicing doctor. He went right into the bureaucracy and he worked his way up. And then he turned what was somewhat an obscure agency at the time, the Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, because, I mean, we do have the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and we have the FDA, and we have the National Institute of Health. But somehow, because he was there 40 years, he built an industry, and he got all this power, but he had all this power within kind of a closet community. So when he got out, he got a little bit of fame during the AIDS crisis when he was in his 40s, and that was a narcotic. That addicted him to it. So then when the influenza came out in 2013, he had in those diaries, there's mention that he feels shorted, that he doesn't get enough airtime. So this was his big bonanza. And the problem he has is not just that he was wrong. I mean, he said masks have no utility, but then later you have to wear a mask. And then 2 is better. And then he said, if you get the double sequence, Moderna, Pfizer, you will not be infectious and you will not be infected. It's that simple. It's that clear. And then 4 months later, after his vaccination, he not only got infected, but he hid that he had a pulmonary infarction. And so he had an embolism, basically. And that was a recognized side effect in some elderly patients that had the vaccination. But the biggest problem he's having is he went to Congress and he went into the public domain. He said things. So you mentioned he went after Jay Bhattacharya, and he went after Martin Kuhlendorf, and he went after Scott and Gupta, the doctor from Oxford, and he went after Scott Atlas. So why did he go after them? He went after them because he called them the Three Stooges, and then he called Atlas. He actually called up the woman, Alicia Griffith, that's working in The View. He called her up, or she called him up. It's unclear who called first, to fire Scott Atlas. She was working for the Trump administration. So they hated Scott Atlas because he was not impressed by Fauci or Deborah Birx. And so he kept bringing in, I've known Scott for 20 years. He just kept bringing in data and said, here's a study, here's a study, here's a study, here's a study. If you shut down the schools, you will lose years of education at this key moment. If you put people and stuff them into houses and apartments, expect higher suicides, familial abuse, substance abuse. If you do this, expect alcoholism. If you do this, expect when you let them out, they're going to go crazy. And he went on, and you will destroy livelihoods. You will destroy small businesses. You'll bankrupt the country, and people will not go to the doctor to get PSA tests, breast exams, you name it, and the cancer and death rate will go up. And then he said, most radically, go ahead and get the vaccinations. We think that might have some utility, but it doesn't stop the virus. They got very angry at that. And then who's they? Burks.
So there you have it. They're breaking down. If you want to hear more about the diaries, they actually read them over at the Signal. They break them down. This gentleman right here is actually a book scholar. Victor Davis Hanson has a lot of great books. If you depending on what you like to read, but they actually broke down even more of the diary throughout the interview, and you notice that everything was about the attention that Fauci was receiving. Everything was about the power. You even heard them break it down. This happened during the AIDS epidemic as well. Fauci has been behind a lot of things that have taken out minority groups and others. So again, is fame worth others dying? This sounds like a person who was seeking fame, seeking notoriety, wanted attention. And do you guys feel like sometimes people can go to these extreme levels to receive what they want?
Of course. Of course. You see it every day online.
Mm-hmm.
People staging dangerous acts just to go viral, just to make some, it's just, it's serious that they do it at the people's expense. Like that's the evils that, hold these high positions over us. Is just, it's sickening, bro. It's extremely sickening. And just for fame, that just shows me how more evil you are for the fame. Man, about 8 months from now, when this story subsides and people move on with their life, they won't even remember you. They haven't even mentioned you until you came to Capitol Hill. Probably 3-4 years. And now you come to Capitol Hill with this nonsense, and guess what? Yeah, you a story now, but once this subsides in 8 to 9 months, no one would never even remember you. What's that dude's name? No, no, doctor, man. Yeah, with the COVID thing. What his name is? Look him up real quick, man. Google it. Nobody gonna be studying you, man. You did all that evil thinking you gonna stand the test of time. You're gonna be a blip. You're gonna be a blip. With all that goes on every day, every week, every month, all year, man, you was a sucker. You was a pawn. You weren't even a rook. You weren't a bishop. You weren't a knight. You're a punk. And they exposed, and what they're gonna do? They're gonna dispose of you. They're gonna dispose of you. Just like they disposed of those people who passed away from this unfortunate incident, they're gonna dispose of you. Like a paper towel in an airport bathroom, chunk.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
What's your thoughts, right?
I don't see how he can sleep at night with just the he had no respect for human life. He didn't value human life at all. And for him to watch the world in chaos, because that's essentially that's what it was. A little bit of chaos. Now, I mean, it wasn't overly chaos, but watch the world just be in dismay, I guess you could say, for the time that it was. And he's like a mad scientist. He just stood there with his arms folded.
Yeah.
Pastor said Plug has been name calling since earlier this chat. He upset today, chat.
It's been a long day, man. You were still in there? Hey, Classic, you were still in there? Was you there for the whole thing, bro? That was a tough one, man.
Yeah, but no, he just the disregard for human life. Just knowing how this, knowing that how it truly went down, knowing that you sat there and lied to the world. Oh no, this come from animals. This is transferred from animals to humans. Knowing that you knew that it was made in a laboratory over there in Wuhan. I just, and then for her to read his diary.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get it and download it so I can read through it. I want to say you probably can get it. It's probably a public document at this point.
Right.
I think it's just very unique that even someone takes the time out to document not really what's going on, but what's going on around them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got on the base without them checking my ID. The POTUS is starting to really have a thing for me. You know what I mean? He was talking about Joe Biden, which later on pardoned him.
Mm-hmm.
So just very unique, man. I just thought it was a good question to pose. His diaries are very detailed with how he felt about things during certain times. He actually even talks later in the diary about President Trump. He talks a lot about him, about how he actually wanted to protect the people. Like, he literally said it word. He said that he's not focusing on money. He actually wants to protect the people. If you watch this interview with Victor David Hans, they read it. Like, and I think sometimes people got the wrong insight because of what was being put on TV or clips that was being put out. But in his diary, he actually speaks about like the humanity of how President Trump was compared to President Biden. So just there, just think it's something very interesting to read. Doesn't mean that it makes President Trump looks any different in anybody's eyes, but I just think it's very unique to have someone who was sitting there that got to see both. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
With him speaking so negatively, or negatively about Biden, why would Biden pardon him?
He didn't speak negative about Biden.
Well, he said that Trump focused more on humanity.
Yeah, but
Biden did.
Yeah, but if you like when she just read it, she talked about how the POTUS was taking, because you got to think about it. When COVID started, Biden was on his way out the door. He only had short moments with Biden.
Right, and plus, Kamala had took over for him.
Yeah.
So even in that instance, but why would Biden pardon him?
I think because Biden knew the plan as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, you knew what the play was.
Yeah, he knew what it was too. Yeah.
You knew this was a play. This was a play. This was a play to say, okay, let's just give it a trial run. This was, I think that was the trial run. Hey man, y'all listen, man. Hey, if y'all really want to, hey, let me go and throw this out there to everybody in the chat, man. If you got 20, matter of fact, if you got a rack that you can invest, holla at your boy. If you got a rack, just a rack. If you got a rack that you can invest, if you want to wait until like October, I'll be the guinea pig and I'll show you exactly what was done. This is for the family. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to set something up and start investing, into your future, y'all get with me. You know how to get in contact with me. If not, Rain can put it in the chat. Big plug 34 with 2 G's at gmail.com. Y'all get at me. And then what we'll do is we'll sit down and we can talk about our financial futures, man. Because we may, as crazy as it sounds, we may need them bunkers. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Classic said, based on American history, the man they are trying to vilify is possibly trying to help. I've been saying that. I agree. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I think when people go out of their way to make someone the villain, you have to be more wary of the people who go out of their way. Because look at what's happening right in front of our eyes with Fauci. Nobody had to go out of their way for him to eventually become the villain. It was already there. It was already there. So like I always tell people that like
out there.
Yeah, you might not agree with everything. I always tell people you might not agree with everything that's happening. We'll never agree with any president, everything they do. But I think it's very. I wish we got to go get back on our rewinds, man, because we talked about a lot. We talked about so much of this, and I argue with my cousins and family on grown folks' business about this. And I was showing them that if you go back and pay attention to the first COVID interview